All right. Good morning, everybody. The final week of the Entrepreneurs Change Your World pitch competition. You've all been working really hard the last 6 weeks, and it all culminates this Friday from 9 a.m. to noon. So today and the rest of this week is about making sure you're ready for your pitch come this Friday. So before we dive into it, once again, want to thank our sponsors, P&G, Kroger, First Financial, Taft, and KMK. Without their support, we wouldn't be here, so thanks to them. So I've shown you this slide every week, and we are now at the very bottom of that slide. So today is the 26th, and then we've got our pitch competition this Friday from 9 to noon on the 30th. So today, my goal is to go through and give you some final comments about being ready for your pitch. We've looked through all your decks. And one of the key things that's going to be needed to be done is to have you do a dry run through your deck with myself sometime in the next 36 hours. We'll talk more about that. And then I will meet with you as often as we need to between now and Friday to get you ready. Quite frankly, some of you have some really good decks and are in good shape. Some of you really need to probably move along a little bit. So I hope everybody's ready to dedicate as much time as they need this week to get ready. I want everybody to do as well as they possibly can. So today we'll have a session. Thursday we'll have a session as group, but then individually, I'm ready to meet with you this week. And then once again, the pitch competition is Friday. More details on that in a second here. Okay, so first of all, here's the prize, or the prize is. Reminder, we've got first place for each of the various 2 tracks for those starting brand new ideas and those who have been working on existing ideas. It's $2,500 for first prize. We've got Union Hall and Centrifuge membership, and you'll be meeting with startup founders, VCs, and the Centrifuge CEO. And then second place, you get a chance to meet with some startup founders and Centrifuge CEOs. So that's each of the tracks. We've also got bonuses for best sustainability idea, best diversity inclusion idea, and best education idea.
Hey, Mike, I just wanted to throw in those best ideas are 500 each.
Oh,
and
yep.
And the total prize is 5,000, but because we had 2 tracks this year, it's 2,500 each, which is why it's broken into 25 and 2,500.
Great.
So,
Thanks, Dan.
clarify. Thanks.
Thank you. Yep. Okay, so the format, and once again, this is really important that you understand how this is going to work on Friday. You will have 5 minutes to pitch. You cannot exceed that time limit. So once you get the 5 minutes, I will need to stop you no matter where you are in your presentation. So it's extremely important that you practice and get this down to 4 minutes and 58 seconds, or close enough that you really know where you're going to be so that you can get your presentation finished on time. We will then throw it open to the judges for 4 minutes of Q&A. Well, they'll be asking you Q&A. I'll tell you more about that in a second. The judges will then spend a final 2 minutes giving you any specific feedback, which actually is very, very helpful to your ideas. And then we'll have 1 minute transition between teams. We've got 11 teams total. I mentioned this last week. I want to re-mention it again. Once again, you want no more than 2 members of your team to be presenting. I will talk a little bit about how to make that work, but no more than 2 members presenting. The non-speaking team members will have some other roles. I'll talk about that in a second. But all the team members will get introduced on slide number 2. And then finally, the judging criteria. You will be judged on 5 key pieces. 1, your problem. How well have you identified your problem and described it? Your solution. How well your solution matches up against that problem. How well you've explained how your solution is going to work. What is your go-to-market plan in terms of how you're going to actually market and sell this product? And then what's your overall presentation effectiveness in terms of slides, enthusiasm, how well you're organized, things of that nature. So those are the judging criteria. So the agenda for today is I want to give you a few more, go through the pitch deck tips. We'll talk a little bit about some of the logistic kind of pieces to this. I've got some general comments on the slides I've seen so far. I want to talk about preparing for the Q&A. And then probably most importantly is, today I want you to schedule some time with me either today or tomorrow. I'll talk about how you actually schedule some time, but I'm going to do at least a 30-minute dry run with each of you. and I'm willing to do that multiple times this week until you get really ready. So the most important thing today is schedule with me the dry run, and I can meet later today or tomorrow. And I definitely want to meet with you by tomorrow at the latest. Okay, so some key things for your pitch deck. We went through this last week. I just want to reiterate it. First of all, make sure your slides are clean and easy to read. Use things like photos and graphs and infographics. Keep your bullet points short, 3 to 7 words, and make sure your slides support what you want to say. And not exactly everything you're going to say. You're going to have an opportunity to talk with the slides. So you don't want long prose. You just simply want short bullet points. Think about your language carefully. Is it precise? Is it concise? Is it persuasive? That's sometimes hard to do. As we go through the dry run, I'll work with each of you to make sure we get your slides as tight as we can. Use data where possible, and we want to cite sources. Data really kind of shows the judges that you've thought about this and gotten key information to support what you're suggesting. You want to build a story start to end. We're basically trying to tell the judges a story in 5 minutes. Here's a problem, a solution. Here's how we're going to go about fixing it. Here's how we're going to go market it. And here's what kind of our next steps are. So we want to build a story from beginning to end. And every one of your slides, you want to think about, what do I want to tell the audience with this slide? I then want to make sure I practice presenting that slide. You're going to be practicing in front of me. You're going to be practicing in front of your teammates. And then ask yourself, did I tell the audience what I wanted to with this slide? And do that for each and every slide and work each of those slides hard. Ideally, we're going to have somewhere between 10 and 15 slides here in total. So basically, we want to do that for each one of those slides as we go through this. And then remember, we're selling lottery tickets, not dimes. We want excitement. We want you to get the judges excited. We want you excited, and we really want to kind of bring an emotional aspect to everything we're trying to do here in the pitch. Okay, so I want to give you some general comments on the slides in terms of that, and then I also want to talk about how to manage and present, how to manage your presentation as well as manage the Q&A. And then finally, we'll talk about scheduling a pitch review with me in the next 36 hours. By the way, feel free to type in questions into the chat as we move along here. And then I'll stop at the end and we'll answer any questions for everybody as a general basis. And we'll make sure everybody feels comfortable where they are and what they have to go do the rest of this week. Okay, so here are comments. First of all, and I've looked at all your slides, make sure your company name and your team number is on your title slide and your last slide. Not everybody has that. It's really important to get your company name and your team number on the first and last slide. That really helps our judges keep track of everything. It helps the audience keep track of everything. So make sure both of those are on the first and last slide. Number two, slide number 2 should be introducing your team. I know when you looked at some of the Airbnb and Uber, the team slide was at the end or in the middle. I want you to move slide number 2 or make slide number 2 your team slide. It's a great opportunity to quickly introduce your team. All you have to do is quickly, say their first, last name, school, and age, and then you'll be out of that. But I want you to introduce your team in slide number 2. Once again, some of you had it all over the place, so make sure that's slide number 2. On your slides, make sure there's no emails or phone numbers. So looking at some of your slides, some of you have some fairly long bullet points. Recall I said 5 to 7 words. I want to challenge you to look at every one of your slides. And if you've got more than 5 to 7 words in a bullet point, try to break that into smaller chunks. Try to be more concise and precise. You're going to have an opportunity to add the words around that bullet point. So you don't need to have a full sentence. You just want to have the key words to support whatever you want to say. Also within that context, you want to use visuals where helpful. I'll give you an example here in a second. But visuals sometimes really help, break up the monotony of the slide. It's in the presentation and can really help tell a story. A little hint here is in the very upper right-hand corner of your slide, and most of you will probably be okay on this already, but that's where your face will be when you are presenting to the judges on Zoom. Basically, the top right-hand corner is where the Zoom pops in. So you want to try to keep that area. Don't have any key information up there. Otherwise, the judges might not be able to see it. So top right-hand corner, just don't have any key information. Slides, probably 10 to 15 slides total. You only have 5 minutes. I saw one group had 25 slides. There is no way you will get through 25 slides, or our heads are going to be zooming back and forth as you zip through 25 slides. Way too many slides. 10 to 15 slides is probably your target to get 5 minutes. If you think you could do a little bit more, then I want to see it in the dry run. But you have to finish in 5 minutes. So I will tell you 10 to 15 is about the right number. I mean, if you have 10 slides, that means you're doing a slide every 30 seconds. If you have 15, it's every 20 seconds. That's pretty fast. So 10 to 15 slides is what you should be thinking about. And your final slide deck is due this Thursday at 3 p.m. Once again, your final slide deck is due to Centrifuge at 3 p.m. this Thursday. 2 formats for your slide deck. We want you to send us either a PowerPoint slide presentation or send it to us in PDF. Do not send it in Google presentation. We have trouble in Google presentation running the slides sometimes, and it jams up. So you need to convert. If you've used Google presentation, move everything to either PowerPoint or convert it to a PDF. And you want to send your final deck to Centrifuge at 3 p.m. on Thursday, the 29th. Okay. Once again, this was the team slide, first name, last name, school and age, a nice picture, no emails, addresses. You can zip through this slide. You don't have to talk about each person in a lot of pieces. Who's ever, introducing this slide, you probably want to have your name and face last, and you can introduce the rest of your team members, but you want to zip through this slide pretty quickly. Okay, I'm going to show you a slide. Here's a slide without graphics, which is very long and got lots of words on it and talks about the service and all that. Here's the same slide, cutting down on some of the words, adding a picture to it, much more inviting and user-friendly. And then here's even yet another version of the slide with everything faded in the background and all that. So the second and third version of those slides are a much better way to present as opposed to the super long version here at the front end. So I just really use this as an example of how to think about your slides and kind of what we're looking for overall. Okay, so let's talk about, first of all, Michael or Zaina, any questions right now that have popped up?
Not yet. You're good to go.
All right, good. Okay, once again, you'll hear me, 3 p.m. Slides are due Thursday, the 29th. Okay, each team is going to be presenting and running your own slides during the presentation. We will have a backup copy, but you're going to choose somebody on your end to actually present and run your slides. So you want to designate a team member to be running those slides. You'll be logging into the Zoom. You'll then be able to show your slide deck, and we'll have that backup if for some reason you guys have any technical difficulty. I would probably suggest that this would be a great role for somebody who doesn't have a speaking role to be running your slides. So they can be running the slides behind the scenes, and the person presenting doesn't have to really worry about pushing it. Remember, I also said to only have 1 or 2 presenters for your presentation. We only have 5 minutes total. So, 1 or 2. If you're going to use 2, each presenter should go sequentially and not back and forth. So have somebody do the first 2 or 3 minutes and have somebody else do the last 2 or 3 minutes. Don't keep going back and forth. It'll be distracting to the audience, especially with a 5-minute presentation if you're going to have 2. Make sure slide number 1 has your company name and team number. Slide number 2 should have your team members, and the first presenter should introduce the entire team. So who's ever presenting first, you can go ahead and introduce your entire team. And then if you're going to use 2 presenters, for transition purposes, when presenter number 1 is done, they can quickly introduce presenter number 2 to take over. So I'd like to introduce Matt, who will now take over and take you through the rest of our plan. That's simple. That's all you have to do. But just do a simple handoff like that. And then the final presenter finishes the presentation. That's when we open it up to the Q&A for 4 minutes. I'll talk about the Q&A overall. And then in the Q&A, you should have somebody on your team who's going to be the lead person to field and direct those questions. Anybody on your team can help answer the questions. And if you guys want to decide who might answer which type of question, that's okay. Just simply have that one person be able to after they hear the question, say, oh, well, let me have Susan answer that question, or I'll take that one myself. So basically, you've got one person who's kind of being the director in terms of directing the Q&A as it comes up overall. So any questions on preparing and presenting your slides? Okay. Q&A section. This is equally as important as your presentation. In fact, sometimes it's more important. The judges are going to have spent 5 minutes listening to your idea. You're probably not going to have covered everything as clearly as you could, or you maybe couldn't cover everything, and they're going to then start asking you questions. So you want to think about what questions might they ask us, what might they ask us to explain. We have 4 minutes total. I would expect you're going to get somewhere between 3 to 5 questions. So the judges ask a question, you then answer it, and then we go to the next question with the next judge. So last year we had, on average, somewhere between 3 to 5 questions are going to be asked during that 4 minutes. The questions can be directed by the leader to any one of your team members to answer. You want to anticipate what types of questions you might get and who on your team is going to answer that. I'll probably do a little bit of that rehearsal as we go through your dry run. A couple key tips on answering questions. Listen carefully to the question and be sure to answer the question. If you're not totally listening to the question, you might start to answer the wrong question. It's really important to listen to the question carefully and make sure you're going to answer it succinctly. If you, for some reason, don't understand the question or it's a little confusing how it was asked, it's okay to ask for clarification and simply have them, repeat the question. Also, really good practice in terms of pitch competitions in general. When the judges ask a question, it's sometimes asked, it's a good way to start your answer by, well, that's a good question, or thanks for asking that question, and then go into your answer. That does two things. One, actually, the judges actually kind of appreciate that, but also gives you a few seconds to start to think about your answer a little bit. And as funky as that sounds, it's just a really good practice to go through, and we can we can practice that in the dry rehearsal. And then you want to keep your answers short and sweet, somewhere between 30 and 60 seconds. Try to get to that answer fairly quickly. We don't want to spend 3 or 4 minutes on a specific answer. We really want an opportunity for you to answer 3 to 5 questions. That will help you and help the judges make a final decision. So that's how the Q&A is going to work. And then immediately following the Q&A, we're going to ask 1 or 2 of the judges to give you any additional feedback on your idea. This will be really helpful. The judges are really good at, suggesting things you might want to think about further, giving you some coaching ideas. Sometimes they may have a connection person for you to talk to. You'll get lots of really good add-on info during the feedback session, and then we'll transition to the next team. So we have 11 teams, so it's going to take us about 11 minutes to get through everything, a minute of transition. So it's about a 2-hour process for us to get through the 11 teams. And then the judges will deliberate. And then while they're deliberating, I think we've got some entertaining stuff we're going to have shared. And then the judges will come back and then announce the winners in the various categories. But that's how we're going to do the Q&A. Okay, here's probably the most important thing. My goal is to get every one of your teams ready as best as you possibly can be for Friday. As I said, I am agnostic towards whoever wins in this competition. I want every team to do really, really well. I have coached pitch competitions for 10 years now, and I know a lot about how to help get you ready. So between now and tomorrow, I want to meet at least one, or meet with you once for a 30-minute feedback session. So my schedule is fairly open the next 36 hours. So I want you to email me at that email address, halloranm2@xavier.edu, with some time slots that work for you either today or tomorrow. Give me as many of the time slots that work for your team. I will then pick a time slot and set an invitation back to you for a Zoom meeting. We'll do this on Zoom. If we have 30 minutes, you'll have enough time to go through your presentation once or twice, and for me to give you some comments. I'll have already looked through your most recent set of slides. And so between me looking through your slides and you doing a dry run, I'll be able to give you some good feedback there. It also will give you a chance to practice using Zoom to present, which will be great. I'll give you feedback on the slides and the presentation. I will also record the session. so that you can capture all the comments and suggestions that I have, and I'll send you back the link to the recorded session. Um, what I can tell you is last year, some of the teams we went through as many as 3 different practice sessions. Some teams nailed it in the first one. So I will meet with you as often as we need to, as often as you want. You guys have a lot on the line here. I want to help you do the best you possibly can. So I will carve out as much time as I need to between now and Thursday to help you. And we really want to, get that first meeting done here in the next 36 hours because your slides, remember, have to be finalized by 3 p.m. on Thursday. So we don't have a lot of extra time. On Thursday at 10 o'clock, there is one final session, group session, which I'll give everybody some final comments on. But that won't be an individual session. So we want to schedule individual time. So I think that was all that I had. Zaina, Michael, anything else come up question-wise?
We do have a question. It says, is the entire team allowed to participate in answering the Q&A, including the team members who didn't pitch during the 5 minutes?
Yes. I'm sorry if I wasn't clear on that. So the answer is yes. You can have everybody participate in the Q&A. Simply have the person who finished the presentation, who did the last section of the presentation, be the person to direct that question to the right team member. So we almost think of it as uh, uh, a conductor in an orchestra. You want to have that person say, okay, now that I have the question, let me have James answer that, or let me have Mary answer that. So yes, everybody can participate in answering the questions. You may want to plan who would answer what type of question, or if you simply want to just throw a random question to somebody else in your team, you can do that. But yes, everybody can participate in the Q&A. Just simply make sure you have your person who finished the presentation direct the question to the right person.
And then there's another question that says, can we include a demo video in our pitch deck?
Okay, so I think I had that question before. So you don't get any more than 5 minutes. So if you have a 1.5-minute demo video, probably way too long. I would not give up a 1.5 minutes of my time to demo my product. If you can do something probably in 30 seconds or less, and you think it adds more to your presentation than what you can do yourself, that's probably okay. Once again, this is still your call. But that would be my strong suggestion. You really want to have you and your team represent pitching your idea. Maybe a 30-second demo in there could work, but I would not go any further than that, especially when we only have a 5-minute. Now, what I will tell you is if this was a 10-minute pitch competition, you could potentially then use 90 seconds for that. But this pitch competition is pretty tight with 5 minutes, so I would not do anything longer than 30 seconds. Anything else, Dana?
Nope, I don't think there are any more questions. If you guys have any, feel free to type them in the chat and I will read them out loud or have Mike read them.
Zand, is there anything else we've missed or anything you want to clarify?
Yeah, I just wanted to say how excited we are, and we are here to help you. So I know people are in various stages, and Mike, you are being extremely generous with your time. So thank you very much. And thanks to Michael and to Zaina. You have a support team here for you. So feel good about that. And for those that aren't on the call today, I've been in touch with them as well this morning. And so we'll get everybody scheduled, all the teams scheduled with Mike in the next 36 hours. So by Thursday, you'll have a really solid pitch to turn in Thursday at 3 to Michael. And please stay in front of your email because we're going to be communicating mainly by email. So trying to make sure that everybody has all the information. So I sent something to everybody yesterday. So please pass that along to your teams as well to check their email on the email I sent yesterday with the details for the week.
All right, so you've got my email address right there. Go ahead and email me as soon as, like right now, if you want to. I will be checking my email constantly all day. Give me a couple time slots. I'll pick a 30-second time slot and send you an invite, and we'll see all of you individually later. I'm just real excited about all this. I mean, I think you guys got some really interesting ideas. Let's get these as strong as we can for the pitch competition. And good luck to everybody this Friday.
So if Michael, Mike, and Zan don't have anything else to add and we don't have any other questions, I can wrap us out. I already put our survey link in the chat, so feel free to fill that out whenever you're ready. Thank you to our sponsors, P&G, Kroger, First Financial, Taft, and KMK. Thank you again, Mike. So many great sessions. Again, you've been so generous with your time. Thank you so much for being here with us. And thank you everyone else for attending. Our next session, as Mike had mentioned earlier, it's our final full group session before the pitch competition on Friday. And that session is Thursday at 10. So we will see you Thursday at 10. Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye, everybody.